The information shared on the Fulfilled Practitioner podcast is for educational and informational purposes only. While we explore topics in natural health, practitioner fulfillment and mindset, business growth, and practice strategies, nothing discussed on this podcast should be interpreted as medical advice or a substitute for a professional diagnosis, treatment of any kind, or individualized guidance. Always consult with a qualified healthcare professional before making any changes to your health, diet, or lifestyle, and consult with a qualified business professional before making any changes to your clinical practice or business. The views and opinions expressed by the host and any guests are their own and do not reflect the views of any affiliated organizations. The Fulfilled Practitioner podcast is not responsible for any actions taken based on the content presented. By listening to this podcast, you acknowledge that you are fully responsible for your own decisions, actions, and outcomes. Hello, and welcome to the Fulfilled Practitioner podcast. I'm your host, Ricky Brar. This is a place where natural health practitioners learn how to grow, simplify, and fall back in love with their practice again. Here we talk fulfillment, practice growth, leverage in technology, AI, and the mindset needed to build an impactful and meaningful practice. If you're ready to evolve as a practitioner and create a life that feels aligned and energizing, let's get started. Today, we're doing one of our special Meet Your Health Hero segments, which has become my favorite. And this segment, it's about spotlighting practitioners who are not just making an impact, but they're doing it with fulfillment, purpose, and authenticity. I've had the pleasure of meeting some of the most brilliant minds in this space and people who are truly changing the world. And I want to make sure they don't stay a best kept secret much longer. So today, I have one of my favorite people ever on the podcast. Natalie, how's it going?
Hey, Ricky, it's fantastic. What a beautiful intro and segue. Wow.
No, it's the least I can do. You've been a big influence in my life, and I know we'll cover a lot of that today. And I'm excited for the practitioners to learn more about what they can implement here. Before we jump into it, just introduce yourself. Let us know who you are and what you do.
My name's Natalie Morse. I live in Southwestern Ontario. My background is as a pharmacist. So I'm now a retired pharmacist and functional medicine practitioner. Now I work with the Living Proof Institute and wear several different hats in that role. One is I coach practitioners through a metabolic health program, and then I also help them with business coaching and tech support and really giving those practitioners, wherever they are in their business, the support behind the scenes that they need as well.
Wow, amazing. And I know you've impacted so many people. Anytime I talk to a practitioner, you're always a fan favorite as well. They have nothing but good things to say. What drew you into this world? Like, I know you started off as a pharmacist, so you wouldn't think that's an easy transition. What drew you into this functional world?
The path, sometimes looking back, it's like, okay, that was interesting. After my youngest son was born, who is now 16, I started training for triathlons. So in a quest to get back in shape, and one other woman I knew had done one the year before, and I was like, if she can do it, I can do it. So diving into triathlon, I knew I needed to, or I wanted to fuel myself well with food. And so that led to me taking a course in plant-based nutrition, which I didn't know at the time. A lot of the instructors in that course, it was all online, but a lot of the instructors are considered some of the functional medicine godfathers. So I just thought I would learn what to eat to fuel my body for the extra athletic demand I was going to be putting on. And I was not prepared for some of the changes I would made in mine and my family's life within a couple of weeks. And so that blew the lid open. And then I started studying functional medicine a year after that.
Amazing, amazing. And I know when I first met you, you were like, in my eyes, you were like a super athlete. So it's amazing to see the journey over time. And I know the big thing that we're going to talk about today and what's front and center for you right now is spreading this mission of gratitude. So I'd love to dive into that. Like, when did gratitude become the focus of your work?
Well, I think we need to go back to like where it kind of started. And it started about that time I was doing these extra continuing education courses. I was consuming a lot of Zig Ziglar content, and he kept talking about gratitude. And at that point, I didn't have a gratitude practice. And I was not one to journal, but he had a suggestion that made sense for me. So I started a very simple gratitude practice then. And it didn't take long to notice some shifts, notice how when I noticed something I was grateful for, how it changed my mood from angry or stressed to sometimes laughing within like 5 seconds, which was fantastic. And then one of our mutual mentors gifted me a 5 minute journal, which is a day and night gratitude journal. So I think that was the first time I consciously did a like written gratitude journal. And then over the years, I really enjoyed the practice, and I would notice times in my life that where things felt kind of sticky or stuck, and I'd be like, "What is going on?" Right? Like I just know I'm not in flow. And one time I was just like, "Oh, I stopped journaling." Because I had a journal that I really liked, but I finished it, didn't order a new one, and then all of a sudden, 3 months go by and you haven't done a gratitude journal, and then I could start to see the difference of when I had that in my life and it was present, and then it wasn't. And I also started when I had my private practice, I would gift patients a gratitude journal as well, and just had this little thought one day of, "Oh, well, I'm buying all these other journals, like, why don't I just make one myself?" Right? Because I can never quite find the perfect one, or like the one that like I really liked. I liked a little bit from this one. I liked a little bit from this one. I would like to see this in it. So it really, from what I've created now and what's like my current practice, really is over a decade of doing and trying different things, and then putting all of those pieces together, and really what has become my daily practice. And now the joyful thing is that I get to share that with other people as well.
Amazing. It's such a powerful thing to do. And I personally find like if you don't have some sort of anchor in your day to remind you, like it's very easy to just kind of go through the day. And I know when negatives, anything hits, the mood can spiral in the wrong direction as well. And I know a lot of your work with the gratitude side of things is connected to the nervous system. How have you found a gratitude practice? How have you found it to impact other people?
Well, when we look at whether we're talking about the practitioners ourselves or the clients we work with, most of us by now have a realization, or we should maybe, again, maybe if you come from more of a traditional practice, that you're learning these things, that the best diet, the best supplements, the best workout plan really isn't going to do anything if it's not built on a regulated nervous system. And so sometimes we have clients who have come to us and they've been struggling for years, or maybe even ourselves, we get caught up on the sciencey stuff and what's new and shiny of like the newest tool, the newest gadget, and then we're missing a regulated nervous system. So there are ways we know we can shift the nervous system, sometimes in seconds, right? Breathwork is one, gratitude is one, getting out into nature. So there's lots of different ways that we can do that. So gratitude, like you mentioned, is making that an anchor in your day, and it's consciously choosing, this is how I need my nervous system to be. This is how I want my nervous system to be more of the time, in that regulated, relaxed state. Yes, it's going to be stressed throughout the day. Yes, we're going to have those moments. Life is going to life. But I'm consciously choosing that I'm going to take these few minutes to make sure it's regulated. And then the more we do it, the more we find ourselves present in that type of state throughout the day. So you have to train it, right? It's just like if I've never swam when I started triathlons, if I never started, I had to train. So if you've never done gratitude, if you don't really know what it feels like in your body to have a calm and regulated nervous state, you need to train. And you might not notice anything right away, or it may feel weird. But if you want to achieve that state, you have to start somewhere. And then it comes down to consistency. It comes down to repetition.
I think one of the things people don't realize is how normalized they've made their dysregulated nervous system. So I think that's a tough one for people because if you ask somebody what their stress is out of 10, they might say it's like a 6, but then you start asking them, tell me about your day, tell me about what you have to do from the second you get up. And you're just like, if I was in your shoes, this would be 11 out of 10 for me, right? So stress is often relative, and we often kind of can misattribute how much is playing a role. And I know those individuals, like if we took a clock, a 24-hour clock, and we don't have this device yet, and I don't know if we'll ever have it, but I know we're big fans of like Aura rings and health trackers and things like that. But over a 24-hour period of time, are you in a negative self-talk mode 51% of the time, 75% of the time. And I think that's where the scales can really tip. Have you found any direct link between gratitude and health outcomes?
Well, I just want to touch on that negative self-talk bit because it's interesting that we're wired for a negativity bias. So without any conscious awareness, most people are probably 95% of that internal talk is not necessarily negative, like self-deprecating, but it's we wake up and it's like, I got to do this. I got to do this, all these things to do. And again, might not quote unquote be stressful, but there's no off, like there's no rest, there's no restorative time built into that. So it's interesting the research of and that negativity bias is built into us for survival. Like we had to be on the lookout for threats in our environment, and we are wired to see things that are off place. So that's what gets our attention. And then it's like, well, how do I shift that? How do I even shift from 95% of the time to 90? Would I notice something like that? Okay, well, we have to start consciously looking for the things that are positive in the environment, for the things that we want to notice, to we'll call them the glimmers, right? Like, oh, what are those? If we don't take the time and consciously say, I want to start looking for those things, people are gonna have a hard time shifting from that 95%. Again, I don't have the number behind that, but it's probably not too far off for the average person. And then being able to shift that over time.
It's crazy because people don't even realize like their entire experience of life will change based on that number. So if they're hardcore wired toward that negativity bias and the scale is tipped in that direction, they're literally experiencing a different life than someone who has like undone some of that and gone toward the more grateful, calm, appreciative side of things. So it's like so foundational, but like one of the hardest things in reality to practice.
Yeah. It's like our perceptions create a reality on love. There's a cartoon from the after school is his Instagram name. So he's a cartoonist, and I really like his things that he puts out. And he has this cartoon where there's a bee in the middle, and then there's one person who in their brain is like honey, and you can tell they're all happy. And then the other person has like the death symbol in their brain. And so some things and people will experience or look at even the same thing, and someone might be, oh, like you can just imagine like what's going on with that person's nervous system, their hormones, if they're looking at that bee and go like, wow, it's so cute, it's pollinating the flowers and it's going to make honey, versus someone who, maybe they have an anaphylactic reaction to bees, so there's a legit fear response. It's very different things that are happening in that person's nervous system and the hormones that are accompanying that, but it's the thoughts of that thing, right? So it's like the bee in front of the person. If the bee was on another side in a glass, it might not have that same level of response. They might not like the bee. They're not going to want to touch it. But that's the perception. That's the mindset. And we do know the what's held in mind, right? Not necessarily the brain, but what's held in mind influences our biology and influences our physiology.
And I think with the practitioner outcome, that's the perfect segue, like looking at like what type of outcomes people are getting with their patients and clients. Like people also don't often realize like those micro perceptions that you have throughout the day as that something is stressful, something is threatening to you. There's an entire cascade of hormones and chemicals that gets triggered in the body. And that done cumulatively over a day is actually what's keeping a lot of people stuck. So like a lot of times people aren't going to break through their digestive issues, their energy issues. I know you do a lot of work with metabolic clients, their metabolic issues as well. So have you seen a gratitude practice change outcomes for someone?
Absolutely. One of my pleasures is I get to work with a lot of practitioners in coaching them through a health program, which is fun because then I get to see their Aura Ring data and I get the real story of what's going on with their sleep and if they're taking time for themselves and what that looks like. And I find most people within a couple of weeks, they feel a shift. Right? It might be small, it might be again, those micro things, but once you feel that, you can't deny that there is a benefit, and they'll tell me that like, "Hey, I was in this situation and this is normally what I would have thought or this is normally what I would have done, and I didn't do that, and I thought this in instead." So, it's happening with the practitioners and then the trickle down with anyone else who really embodies embodies that practice.
Amazing. And it's just that subtle change, right? That over a period of time can create literally miracles in many ways. So that's so powerful. Do you find, in terms of practitioners who are listening or feedback you've got from clients, like, do people have misconceptions about like a gratitude practice in terms of it being like something soft or something very surface level?
Yeah, it's so easy to overlook, right? And even if we look at the functional medicine tree, when we look at the roots of that functional medicine tree, or some people use the iceberg picture as the analogy, there's the mind, there's the mindset, there's the belief patterns, there's the trauma, like all in there. Like we know that's contributing, that we know that's part of the roots, but that might not necessarily be in our wheelhouse to address, might not be in our scope. You know, most of the practitioners we work with aren't social workers, aren't psychologists. So I was like, okay, yeah, we know that's really, really important. So how do we support our clients in that, knowing that's important, but maybe that's not, it's not in our wheelhouse, that's not in our scope, that's not in our programs that we're laying out for them. So gratitude has become a great way to give people support in that. And while it might be seen as soft, seen as fluffy, the people who do commit to a practice, once they do it consistently for whether it's 60 days, 90 days, again, you can't deny that it's positive in your life. And it's really impactful. I used to be able to see in my metabolic clients, I could kind of tell after someone had been working with me a while if they had were doing the journal or not. And I'd ask them, because if they were still repeating the same like not negative language, but if they were still complaining about the same things, or I could tell they weren't necessarily happier, I could tell they didn't necessarily hadn't adopted like a new language and a new way of being. I asked them like, "Hey, you're doing the gratitude journal?" And usually the ones I was like, "I think I need to ask this question," is like, "Oh no, I've been really busy. I've been meaning to do it." Versus other ones are like, "Oh my gosh, I love it. Like I do it every morning," and they're starting to notice. So over time, I could see that result in the client's language of what they were doing and how they were talking about the experiences in their life.
Yeah, it's one of those things I know I've gotten feedback from people that I've recommended a gratitude practice to or a gratitude journal to. And it's interesting because the feedback they typically give me, if there's someone who's never done this before, is they feel really silly writing in their journal the first few days. They're almost like pulling at things and trying to find things that they can be grateful for. So initially, like even if you read their journal entries, I've been sent screenshots over the years of many. The first few will be like, I'm grateful for the warm weather, I'm grateful for my water bottle, I'm grateful for, and they're really like first just immediate things in their environment, but then as they start to practice it, they actually start to get a lot deeper, and then they start to be grateful for people in their life, relationships in their life, aspects of their day that reflect positive health, which is huge for people as well. And I think we all need a reminder through the day of like what to be grateful for, because like depending on who you follow online, there's a lot of great people. I know like the Gary V's of the world, like they actually reflect very extreme, almost to a point of delusional optimism, where there's just mega gratitude. And he's like, the chances of you being born is already like one in something trillion, right? So, like, that was a miracle in itself. And then if you take it further, the fact that you're born in Canada or the US, where like there's a lot more opportunity, a lot more freedom, you're already ahead of so many people. And kind of you start to go down that rabbit hole and you start to realize, wow, like life is pretty good, even when you're going through extreme stress and things like that. So, I love what you're doing. I definitely want to take a pause here to let you show off the amazing, amazing book you created that's helping lots of clients all over. And FYI, Natalie gifted me a copy as well. And I used it to the point that I carried it everywhere in my bag with me. And like with stuff being crammed on top of it, and like the cover tore off, I taped it back on to make sure I completed it. But it was I don't want to use this term lightly, but it was very much life changing. And because it came from someone I care about and someone I appreciate and adore, I like made sure to fill out the whole thing. So please show us the amazing book you created.
Amazing. That warms my heart, right? And that's the intention that went behind it. So here's the daily gratitude journal I have created, right? So it's got a really nice, pretty front, back, and cover. And to your point, because it's very, again, any new habit, any new thing, it's like like meditation is just an example too. It's like, how do you know you're meditating right? Like, am I doing this right? Like, that's the internal talk. So it's the same thing with a journal. Anything new. I've started playing pickleball recently. So guess what? I suck. It's like, and that can be hard, but it's like, of course, it's like a new thing you've never done before. So with that, like relax. So that's why I kind of put some instructions at the beginning of basically like, there's no wrong way to do this, just get started doing it. And I've laid this out into a two-part journal of a morning and an evening practice. And I like that because again, I designed this ultimately for myself, and the what I feel is the best recommendation for people is the morning practice really sets your tone and your mindset for the day. Like, what am I looking forward to today? Like, so it's what am I looking forward to today? Like, I have a podcast with Ricky. That's amazing. And how I will spread kindness today. So you're already thinking ahead, like how I want to show up in the world is super valuable. And then I have selected a quote, and there's a quote each day as well that you can reflect on. And then also the evening journal. So a gratitude practice, sleep is huge, right? So gratitude practice, people who have a gratitude practice do report better sleep scores. They tend to go to sleep easier and have a better deep sleep architecture. So we know how important sleep is for our clients and ourselves. So having an evening anchor as well to wrap up and to shift from all the things that maybe it's the to-do list, maybe it's the ruminating of what maybe didn't go great that day to, hey, what were the great things that happened today? And some days you have to dig for that, absolutely. But and this is one of the things where I grabbed the journal, just a couple weeks after I'd started using this one with that when it got published. It was my niece's birthday that day. So what I noticed was as soon as I grabbed the journal, I instantly felt the shift in my body because by then there was a repetition of the prompt, which is important, I feel. So because there's repetition of the prompt, I didn't even have to open the book and my mind was already reconnecting to the great thing that had happened today. So I was like, "Oh, very nice." So great the evening prompt, great things that happened today, a lesson or insight, a positive thought to sleep on, and all of this, really takes 30 seconds to fill it out. And then so that really creates a beautiful anchor.
That is so amazing. I highly recommend it. And I love the kindness feature, which isn't really in a lot of gratitude journals. It's like we reflect and we appreciate things and we write down what we're grateful for, but it still is very like internal. And as you know, from the world we're in a highly service-based world where we are pouring into other people, whether it's clients, whether it's practitioners, and we often don't think about how we can spread kindness. So I know I used to have the T-shirt and it got ripped. It used to be one of my favorite T-shirts. It was "Kill 'em with kindness" and it had like a picture of the Dalai Lama on it. And I think I was like a teenager when I bought it. So like I thought I was really cool with that T-shirt. But I think we have to change the "kill 'em with kindness" side where it's just like support them with kindness, right? Or
Support them,
help them.
nurturing them. Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely pick up a book. We'll throw the link in the show notes for everyone as well, and give it a one book trial. Like it's commit to it, right? That's going to be absolutely huge. And just so you guys know who like Natalie is, if you haven't met Natalie before, I'll share a little story. Is I remember I was on a group call with her, and in this group call we were just kind of sharing what's going on with life, and I mentioned I was going through a bit of a challenging time with one thing, and literally days later, I got a package on my doorstep and I have it beside me here. And Natalie mailed me a course in miracles. And it's something that I've been working through over time. But just to show you, like, this is Natalie's generosity. And immediately she went into my gratitude journal multiple days. So it's something she was already spreading. And this was, I think, before you even launched your gratitude
It,
journal. So this is
it
like,
was.
it's always been Natalie. So support her, if you benefit from the book, reach out to her, let her know what you're experiencing. I think this can be something that completely changes your health without spending hundreds of dollars on a new tracker or thousands of dollars on the new cutting edge peptide or whatever the trend is these days, right? So it's absolutely huge. Now, this wouldn't be the Fulfilled Practitioner podcast if I didn't ask you this question. What does being a fulfilled practitioner mean to you?
It means loving the work you do, loving the clients you serve, loving the colleagues that you get to collaborate with, and being having enough resources, having, so whether that's time, whether that's income, to live the life that you're meant to live. So whether that's travel, to have energy so that you can coach your son's soccer team. So many practitioners give, give, give at work and then have nothing left in the tank for the relationships that matter the most for them. So building that fulfilled life for the work we're meant to do, and then really having our families thrive right alongside us.
Love that definition. Love that. It's one thing that stood out to me there is I think we kind of have an epidemic of practitioners who are just walking around with empty cups. Like they've just poured out so much, and I think they have to all learn to recharge. So a gratitude practice can be the foundation of that. So doing all of this work over the years, like have you found there was like a mindset shift for you that really opened stuff up?
Yes, and I'll share this story. I'm sure you've heard it, but uh, I've went through some challenging times, just like the rest of us, and it was going through A Course in Miracles after divorce that I realized I didn't love myself. And so, how can I treat myself well? How can I be healthy? How would I do the things that are healthy and nourishing for my body if I don't, at the core, actually love myself? So that was like hard to have that realization. And luckily, I already had a gratitude practice at that time. And then I've seen over time, and this is, I believe the path, right? So when we talk at some of the higher spiritual stuff, like A Course in Miracles, like that's pretty deep. We're not usually going to have those conversations with our clients, but that's why gratitude's become it really is a thing that most people get, so we can talk about it, and it's separate from religion, it's separate from deeper spiritual talk or what people would consider woo woo, so it becomes very tangible to that. And I believe it's gratitude is where most people should start, then forgiveness, and then the self-love can come. So that's what I experienced for myself when I fully experienced that, "Oh my gosh, I do love myself now." That was great, and that really that was my journey, and so that's why I think starting with the gratitude for anyone who, just, hey, just wants them to have a better, happier life is great, and, at the core, unfortunately, most people don't actually truly love themselves, so and that's a huge barrier to healing.
Yeah, I know one of the most popular books of all time is A Return to Love, Marianne Williamson. Hopefully I remember the title correctly. But yeah, like you said it so perfectly there. And like what I visualized as you were speaking is like, there's like layers that you have to work through. And that's what allows you to like break through, right? So yeah, we often don't think that way. So that's powerful. If you have a client that is skeptical or resistant to gratitude, have you found a way to help them out?
I try to give a couple different suggestions so people can meet them where they're at. Right. So this suggestion, and this is where I started. So this is why I can give the suggestion. And this was from Zig Ziglar, was I wrote 10 things down on like a little index card, probably the ones we used to cram our notes from school on. I just wrote 10 things I was grateful for. And I read that list of 10 every morning and every night. So the list didn't change. And it was the grateful for my husband, I'm grateful for my house, like the very, basic things. But that's where I started. And there was moments I definitely felt shifts and noticed the impact it was having on my life. So sometimes that's where someone might start. And when we have kids, what's one of the first things we teach kids to say? Please and thank you. So we just a reminder that saying thank you more, say thank you even internally when there's food in front of you. Say thank you when you're outside watching the sunset. Say thank you. So just that can be a starting point. And that's a very powerful gratitude practice. If you say thank you even internally 50 times a day, oh my gosh. Cause like, did you say it at all yesterday? Maybe, maybe not. But if you start to build that in and look for things to internally say thank you, that will go a long way. Meditations, guided meditations can also be a great thing. If someone likes meditations, especially guided ones, that could be another opportunity as well.
Awesome. I know guided meditations, they kind of do the work for you. You just got to buckle in and experience it. Yeah. So my next question was actually going to be if a practitioner wants to start implementing this into their client care or patient care tomorrow, like where do you feel is a great starting point for them? Is it the journal? Is it the guided meditations? Is it some sort of prompt you can give them? What would be the best starting point for them?
I think an easy one is giving their clients a journal as part of if they offer like a care kit when someone enrolls into their practice or their programs, including that. That's showing the client how serious you are about it. It's not just most people forget 70% of the things you say in an appointment. Okay. So if it's just another thing on the to do list, like, oh, I need you to do a gratitude practice, with the other things, they're more worried about what time to take their supplements. Okay. Like that's just the reality. But if you give them something physical and they can see it and they're not going to remember to do it every day, but because they have something physical, they're more likely, it's going to be easier to get into the habit. And then you can work it into your, if you have forms when you're following up with clients, if you're checking in with them, like, hey, are you doing your gratitude practice? You can do that. We've definitely worked into our group calls, right? We've done, we'll start our group calls with, hey, what are things that you're grateful for? What's something you're grateful for? So you can work it into group calls or one-on-one calls as well. And then that sets the tone of that meeting when you start that, right? You start that group call with what are the things you're grateful for? And you as the practitioner get to acknowledge the people in the group and what they are grateful for, and you get to share great gratitude as well. As it changes the tone of that whole, whether it's a 30 or a 60-minute session. That's a great way to put it up front and then show that you're doing it as well. There's a couple quotes that are along the lines of, gratitude not expressed, like what's the point of that? So the more you express gratitude, then other people, you have to be the leader, then other people realize like, oh, that's normal. It's okay for people to do that because I think that's most people probably don't see those great examples, those shining examples like Gary V you mentioned, right? They're there, but many people might not be tuned into those examples.
Absolutely. And it's powerful. So, like, my big takeaway from today is like, as a practitioner, you have to intentionally build this into several layers of your approach. So, it's literally one of those things. And I know we've kind of put aside this misconception that this is a surface level thing because it absolutely is not. But in order for your clients to learn that, you have to give them the physical anchor. You have to remind them, you have to bring it up again. So these things are so important overall. So what we need to do is build that as a non-negotiable part of our programs, of our offerings. So that's absolutely huge. Now, I know you're not going to like to call yourself this, but for the sake of today's interview here, considering that you're the master of gratitude, let's say, like, what does your daily gratitude practice look like?
So interestingly, I start usually before my eyes are even open, like when I know I'm awake, but not like awake yet, I usually do the forgiveness prayer first. So that's one of my core daily things. I do the forgiveness prayer for myself and then a couple other people in my life. And then I get up. We were talking within a group yesterday of practitioners. We were talking about morning routine yesterday. So I do that. I get up. I have my lemon water. I usually go outside for a few minutes, move the body around, and then I come back into my room. And then while I'm still sipping my lemon water, I journal in my gratitude practice in my gratitude journal. And then do some other readings as well. Maybe do a little meditation, maybe do a little breath work. And then I go out for my movement of the morning, whatever that's going to be. So the gratitude in the morning and then again at night. And since I've had this journal for almost a year now, I haven't missed a day. And sometimes sometimes I've missed the evening gratitude portion, and when I wake up the next morning, I have to finish it. I have to fill out the night before I start reflecting on the day as well. So that's the tangible journal one, and then I'll give credit to like someone else in my life. I'm much more aware and much more conscious of saying grace before a meal. So looking for other opportunities in the day to say thank you, and that's one that I could be more consistent with. So that's one I'm actively working on to improve my gratitude practice as well.
It's literally a muscle. You've trained it, right? Like through consistency, through not missing a day, and now I'm sure throughout the day, even when you don't have a physical journal with you, and it's just these are the thoughts entering your mind. Oh, that good thing happened to me. I'm grateful, right? Now you said something very powerful there, and we didn't really touch on it too much. You mentioned it earlier when you kind of were working through the layers of how you needed to return back to self-love. You said the powerful term forgiveness.
Hmm.
So I know you mentioned you do forgiveness prayers. I think that's something that a lot of people with health issues struggle with. And I think just in general, it's human nature to like hold on to that and blame others and like hold grudges. It literally eats you up from the inside. How have you found people can also implement a forgiveness practice into their day to day?
Well, so the forgiveness prayer was given to me several years ago, and it goes like this. So you start with doing it for yourself. So it's, dear Natalie, I love you. Please forgive me for anything I've ever done to you, and thank you for everything you've ever given to me. So it's always for yourself first. And I've had some wild meditations with the Course in Miracles. I don't know if you've gotten to parts where it's like deep on forgiveness. I've had some pretty wild meditations with that. So that alone, if that's all you do is repeat that for yourself, um, and forget anyone else, right? Because a lot of times we're carrying guilt and shame for things we did or didn't do. And we're all doing the best we can with what we have and what we know and what resources we have at the time. So everything is good, everything is okay in this moment, and let's forgive ourselves and give ourselves for me, it's like a way to kind of like give myself, my past, present, and future self, like a big hug every day. And then so I do it for myself, say it for myself, and then you can say it for other people in your life. So if you are going to start that as a new practice, a recommendation is to not do it for more than 5 people at a time, and to do it for 40 days. So every day for 40 days. I think it's powerful the first time I did it, like, not writing out every day, but writing it out at least several times to really bake that in so that now I don't even have to open my eyes, it's just there. But I had to read it over and over and over again. So the commitment to that again for 40 days is the consistency. It's the letting the process do what it's meant to do, but yeah, you'll have shifts with doing that practice as well.
Thank you for sharing. That's powerful. I've never come across like that methodology, and I'm just trying to think like health practitioners are obsessed with protocols, and clients are obsessed with like which foods should I eliminate, right? And which food should I add in? And I don't know who said the quote, but it came to mind there is like it's not about what you're eating, it's about what's eating you. So
Yeah.
this allows us to really process that. So that's so powerful. Thank you for sharing. Uh, that is a perfect place for us to let people know where can people find you, where can people learn more about you, and where can people also get your book.
Awesome. Well, the gratitude journal is available on Amazon, and I know Ricky will give that share in the show notes with that. I'm most active on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn. So it's just simply my name, Natalie Morse. That's where I'm hanging out and people can connect with me.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much today, Natalie. You are going in my gratitude journal, and I'm so grateful for this conversation today. And I know you're going to impact so many people, and you have impacted so many people, including myself. So keep on fighting the good fight and spreading love.
Thanks, Ricky.